Welcome to OLC 4.0. This is Term 1A. We are on Class 25, Unit 3, Lesson 13. It says readings and practice here, but we actually do get to the key question as well. So I'm just going to add that in right now so it doesn't get lost. We are on week 7 of this 9-week course. It is October 16th, 2025, and I am Jillian Percy. All right. Here are all the ways to contact us. If you want to talk to me while I'm in the studio, 1-800-465-7144. Keep in mind that I am on the radio, and that means you will also be on the radio. The office number is 1-800-667-3703, extension 2211. My email is jillian.percy@nnec.on.ca or jillian.percy@nnecschools.org. My Facebook is gpercywasa. If you are sending me a message to that, please make sure to let me know what your student name is, if it's different than your Facebook handle, and let me know what course you're in and what your question is. That way, when I start messaging back to you, I'm kind of already oriented because I have 4 different courses, and it's a good idea for me to know what we're talking about before I get there. All these courses are recorded live and then saved and placed on YouTube. There are 2 different YouTube channels. There's the school channel, which is called WASA Distance Education YouTube channel. And then there is my teacher channel, which is also G Percy Wasa. You would be looking for the current list, which is 2526, Term 1A, OLC 40. And there should be a whole playlist there. Now, if as we're teaching, you're thinking, this doesn't quite match up to what I have, then you probably still have last year's version, which is fine. I will always accept that. But the classes might not be as helpful to you, in which case you just go back to last year's class and look at last year's playlist. So the last time this was taught last year would have been Term 2B in the year 24-25. So you would just follow through with those classes. If you're having trouble finding it on YouTube, just send me a message and I can always send you the link, okay? All right, assignments. All assignments should be handed in to student work at nnec.on.ca. If you send them to me directly, I just have to send them through that anyways, because that is where everything goes for it to be printed off. And then they log that the work has been submitted. And that way the work is available to other teachers if someone else took over this course. Please make sure that right on the page of your work, you have your full name, the course name, the assignment number, and the name. If there is a writing assignment and it's asking you to label rough draft, good draft, polished draft, please put that on there. You need it for your portfolio marks, and I need it because I mark things differently depending on whether it's the rough draft or the good draft. There are lots of ways to hand in assignments. I always discuss this because it's the very first question everybody asks me. Remember that right now we have a postal strike, although it's going to become a rotating postal strike, but regardless, I would not hand anything in through the mail right now. If you have a learning center in your community, you can give it to the DEC. They should have a scanner and they should be able to scan it and email it to me. If you have a scanner at home, you're welcome to use your scanner and email it to me as well. That's great. You can fax it to me at 1-800-463-7852. That is if you're in Ontario. If you're anywhere else in Canada, you can use 1-877-990-2023. Keep in mind that we keep our fax machine on sleep mode, so let me know and I will turn it on and go over and kind of wait for it. If you live in town, you're welcome to just bring assignments by and I can take them or photocopy them for you. If you like to work on your computer, you can email me your work as an attachment. Some people like to work on Google Docs and just share things with me. Remember to include both me and the student work email and allow us to view and edit it. If you don't do that, we can't see the assignment. And if we're not allowed to edit, I'm not allowed to print it for some reason. Some people like to do their assignments by handwriting, which is fine. If you're doing that, a lot of people then take photographs of it and send me the photographs through Facebook or through email. Keep in mind, it works best if you only take a picture of one page of the assignment at a time. Make sure your writing isn't blurry in the photograph. don't tilt the phone while taking photographs. And I received the document today, and they didn't realize their shadow was on the assignment, and I couldn't read the assignment through the shadow. So keep in mind of that kind of issue too, okay? When you send it to me, send it as an attachment rather than putting it in the body of an email. It's just a little bit easier for me to download and print off. If you're going to be doing a lot of photographing of your assignments, it really works better to use a scanner app. It just produces a much higher quality of result for me. It's not really much harder than using a photograph, but it's way easier for me to read, okay? I use Adobe Scan. It's easy to use, it's free. Download it, open it back up, align up the phone over your assignment. Try to keep it as square to your assignment as you can. The dots can go in the corners, or there's like a little border you can line up. Keep taking pictures of all the pages until you've got all the pages for that assignment. Only do one assignment at once. Otherwise, it'll be too many pages for me to download, okay? Hit continue, and now it will let you preview. You can put the pages in a different order. You can crop the pages. You can take another picture over if you realize it's too blurry. Hit save PDF and give it a name, and then make sure you save it. You can put it in Google Drive, OneDrive, Dropbox, wherever you put your stuff, and then write me an email and send it along, okay? That's probably the strongest way if you don't have a scanner. Okay, week 7 planner. I'm gonna take this down. We only have, after today, oops, sorry, it's trying to disappear on me. Hang on. After today, we only have 8 classes left because we have week 8 and week 9, and then we will be finished this course for the year. Now, I don't want you to panic if you're still working on it. You still have till June to hand things in, but there will be no new classes after Halloween, basically, okay? So we are on lesson 13 today, and I believe we get finished it. And then next week, we should be working on lesson 14 and 15. And then hopefully we will move on to unit 4. Okay, so lesson 13, we are talking about literacy skills in the world of work. Basically, how our literacy is used in working environment, okay? Success criteria: by the end of the lesson, you will have achieved the lesson goals if you can understand new vocabulary used in the lesson, read independently for school, personal, and work-related purposes, construct a personal reflection describing the ideal work for you and explaining which communication skills are needed to function effectively for that job, and then edit your own writing independently. All right, so we've been working on lesson 13 for a little while. Yesterday, we ended with support question number 2 on page 31 in unit 3. This is the question where you were doing a quiz to figure out your Holland codes, and then you select 4 careers with matching Holland codes that appeal to you. Today, we are beginning in the middle of lesson 13. We're going to be on page 32 in unit 3. And we are going to begin working on the section labeled skills, abilities, and interests, followed by support question 3. You will need to complete this support question and actually all the support questions in this unit in order to do key question 13. Sometimes the support questions are optional, but this time I don't know of any way you could do the key question without doing the support questions. So it's really important to do them. If you haven't yet, please go back and do them so that you're able to do the final assignment here. Okay, skills, abilities, and interests. Many people have strong preferences as to whether they like to work with people, things, data, or ideas. And in case you're thinking data or ideas kind of sound the same thing, data is usually more numerical, right? Mathematician, statistics, things like that. Ideas can be more general. It could be ideas like being a scientist or being a doctor or a teacher. It's a little more general. These are very broad categories, so keep in mind that within each category will be jobs that might be very different from each other. One might interest you where another doesn't. So if you like to work with things, maybe when you hear that, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I love to do painting and I want to do sculpture. And someone else is thinking, oh yeah, I love to fix TVs. And another person is thinking, I like to build shelves. It's all working with things, but it's very different types of things. So keep that in mind as you're doing, kind of walking through these exercises, all right? So support question number 3, take a look at the checklist below and check off which ones apply to you. Think about which ones you are good at and really enjoy doing. So if you're good at selling things, for example, but you absolutely hate it, don't check mark that skill because it's not one that you're really wanting to use in your career. Once you are finished, look over the assessment and decide which skill category has the most amount of check marks. Is it people, things, data, or ideas? And if any 2 categories are tied for highest, it is fine to choose both categories. Now, I want to point one more thing out. Sometimes, if you are older, your tastes may change. So I'm thinking of a friend of mine who she used to be working in the field of like child and youth work, right? But she found that emotionally stressful. And so she switched jobs completely and is now working as basically an accountant. So she was working with people. Now she's working with data. So if you're a little bit older, think about what you want to do now, because it may be that you've been working with one type of thing for a while, like you've been working with data for a while, and now you're ready to work with something different. And that's fine too. It's fine to change. We don't always stay the same throughout our whole life, and it's totally fine to change. Okay, so this is the quiz to take. Again, remember to focus on whether you like it, not whether you think you are good at it, okay? You can always improve on something you like doing. Now, so the first one, I kind of gave you an example of what I might answer. Do you like to entertain a child? Yes or no. Listen to a friend's personal problems? Yes or no. Teach someone how to do something? Yes or no. Help someone who is sick? Lead a group or a club activity? Work with the public? That could be something like working as a cashier or working as a salesperson or working as a receptionist. Run for an office. By that, they mean like something political where you're voted in. Even at like a high school, there can be things like student council and stuff where you could run for office. So for me, I had 5 items that were yes and 2 items were no. So this is definitely one that's strong for me. Okay, not surprising because I'm a teacher. Then if I were to look at data, research a topic of interest to you. Yes. Be a treasurer of a club. No, I would hate that. Work scientific experiments. No, not really. Work with numbers or statistics. No, really, really no. Figure out a car's gas mileage. Now I could do it, but do I like to do it? No. Balance a bank statement? Also, no. Write a computer program? Also, no. So if you're looking at this for me, I only have 1 yes, and I've got 6 no's here. So obviously data is not one of the ones for me. People probably is going to be one of them. Okay, let's look at the second half of the quiz. Okay, so here we've got things. Do you like to bake a cake? Yes. Repair a car or machinery? No. Sew or make crafts? Yes. Build something from wood? I could, but it's not something I do very often, so I'm going to say no. Operate a cash register or calculator? I mean, I could. I do, but it's not something I like love doing. I don't just sit down to play with my calculator for fun. Do landscaping or lawn care? Again, I can do, not a favorite. Operate a camera or video equipment? Okay, sure. So this one, it's a little more balanced. Hang on a second, here's my tools. There we go. So I've got 3 yeses and 4 nos. So this one, I'm going to put kind of like a little wavy line to be like, well, maybe. It depends what the things are, right? Baking, sure. Repairing stuff, nah, probably not. Then looking at ideas, decorate a room, yes. Write a poem or a story, yes. Publish a school yearbook or a newspaper, yes. write lyrics or rap? Looks like I forgot that one, sorry. I would say probably no. Maybe if it was poetry, but that'd be more poetry than music. Perform or act in a school play? Yes. Now this one, play a musical instrument. I kind of put that one in the middle. It's like, it's one of those funny things where I've done a little bit, I'd like to be better, but am I really investing any spare time in it? Huh. So that's one of those ones that you think, yeah, I definitely am probably going to start working on that, then put it in yes. But if you're like, yeah, vaguely I'd like to be good at it, but am I really going to spend the time to do it? No, then stick it in no. So I made that one pink just so it kind of stood out. So at the final end, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 no's in this category. Or sorry, 4 yeses in this category and 3 no's. So this is another maybe for me. Okay, so my highest interest at this time. Okay, so these ones are both maybes. They're really even. And then if you look back at the first page, data was definitely a no. People was definitely a yes. So for me right now, I would say people. With data or things, it would kind of be, it depends. Those two are sort of tied, okay? Now, you might have one where maybe people and things are tied, in which case it's fine to select two if you want to. So if I were writing something here, okay. So I would just put people here. That's basically my main thing, okay? But number 2 is optional. It's possible you might have 2 sets of skills that are tied or close. So here for this one, example number 1, people, they had 3 yeses, data, 2 yeses, things, 7 yeses, ideas, 1. So clearly this person likes to work with things. That would be the only thing that they would need to put on there. Okay, that's all they need. Example number 2, people were 6, data was 1, things was 2, ideas was 5. So people's was first, but ideas was pretty close. So I would probably put people in the number 1 spot and then put ideas in the number 2 spot. So with the number 2, only use it if you have to. If there's one that's an obvious clear winner, you don't need to do it. If it's one where you kind of are more tied, put them both in there, because you might find that you might love a job with ideas slightly more than people, or maybe it's really important to you that you find a job that uses both types of skills, right? Okay. Work environment and values. People often have strong preferences as to what type of environment they like to work in. Working in a setting that matches your preferences can help you love being at work. But working on one that you hate can be frustrating, stressful, or boring. Think about what kind of environments you feel happiest doing work in. These can sometimes be quite different from the kind of environment you like to relax or socialize in. So for example, I love having music on if I'm just relaxing. I hate having music on if I'm trying to work, because I'll end up singing along with the lyrics and then I can't think. But other people might love having music in the background while they're working. It just depends on the person and probably what type of work you're doing. People can have some very strong feelings about some parts of their work setting, but other areas where they're a little more flexible. Obviously, different people are going to be looking for different criteria for their perfect work setting. Right? We are all different people. We do not all like the same things. And again, just in case I need to say this, but there's no right or wrong. There's not one that is more valuable or less valuable, right? So don't be worried to tell me what your choice is. It doesn't matter. I'm just looking so that you have the information. So for example, some people are excited to work in a fast-paced environment where they constantly meet new people with lots of new tasks and new things to learn. Other people would hate that kind of environment and feel quickly overwhelmed. They might prefer a job that is very quiet, slow-paced, with a few familiar tasks. Everyone is different. So up top, you've seen a really busy outdoor marketplace. It's very crowded, lots of noise, lots of color. That's a very busy environment. I know people who would hate that and would probably quit the first day. Here, this guy's sitting by himself. I don't see any coworkers. It's a boring gray, white kind of spot. It looks really quiet. Again, some people might love that and find it very peaceful. Other people might think that was really boring. So that's why we're kind of thinking about what type of environment you want to work in, because that makes a big difference on what type of work you train for. Okay, so this is support question number 4. Read through the list on the next few pages. Circle your preference on each line. After you are finished, go back through your choices and select 3 to 5 items that are your highest priority in selecting work. So now I want to point out again, there is no right or wrong answer, okay? So I'm going to kind of walk through this, but just basically because I want to show you how to do it. Please don't feel like you have to imitate my answers, because later on you're going to have to write about this and you're going to be frustrated if you're writing about my answers when that isn't what's really on, okay? So, criteria. Where do you like to work? Do you like to work outdoors, indoors, or both outdoors and indoors? I'm just going to kind of circle. For me, I would say indoors. Coworkers, do you want to work all by yourself, with a few others, or with lots of people? I would say with a few others. If I was working all by myself, I'd find it kind of lonely. Clients or customers? None, a few at a time, many customers or clients. I kind of like a few at a time. Noise level, very quiet, some noise, lots of noise. I would go between very quiet and some noise. I'm going to circle very quiet just to kind of pick one. It really could be either one of those. Types of noise. Now, this might make a difference. Like maybe you don't mind music, but you would hate people, talking to you all day. Maybe you love people talking, but you don't want to hear a bunch of music. Maybe you don't mind equipment noise or the noises of nature, right? It kind of depends what you like to have surrounding you. So this last one is normally just one choice. Here, there's 2 different choices. If I had to choose, I would probably choose people talking. I love listening to other people. Lighting, bright indoor lights, dimly lit, bright outdoor lights. I'm going to go with dimly lit. Sounds funny, but I don't like super bright lights. They kind of give me a bit of a headache. Intensity, slow paced, medium paced, fast and energetic. I'm going to go with probably slow paced. I like to take my time. Activity level, sedentary or seated, mostly on your feet, a variety of activity levels. So most office work is going to be sedentary. On your feet, that might be things like nursing, being a waitress, being a cashier or a cook, teaching, postmen, obviously, construction workers, variety of activity levels. Some things is going to be kind of back and forth, right? A kindergarten teacher might be standing sometimes, might be sedentary other times. Responsibility or task variety. A few main tasks or responsibilities, some variety of responsibilities, a wide variety of responsibilities. And so, like, do you want to be responsible for a very little bit, or do you want to be responsible for a lot? So if you want to be the boss, you probably want to be responsible for a lot of things. But maybe you're like, no way, I don't want to be responsible. If everything goes wrong, it's going to be my fault. And you just want a few small things that are yours. Again, there's no right or wrong answer. Novelty level. How much newness do you want in your job? Do you want little to almost nothing new? Do you want some new tasks and learning? Or do you want to be constantly learning or doing new things? I think I chose this one later on, but I would say it would be between here and constantly learning. Task repetition. Highly repetitious tasks performed over and over, like factory work, right? So if you're doing factory work, you might be, screwing in 5 screws on a car door over and over again for 8 hours. For some people, that would drive them bonkers. For other people, it's like, oh, that's very peaceful and easy. I'm good. Maybe there's some tasks that are repeated, but not everything, or for not very long. Or maybe there's very little repetition. Basically, everything's new and always something different. Time freedom. How much freedom do you have over how you spend your time? It could be in how you choose your shifts, like what shifts you pick up, how many hours you work, or what schedule you work. Like, do you work weekends? Do you always work, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? Do you need lots of flexibility, some flexibility, or are you fine if you have very little flexibility? I think I chose some flexibility. Supervision level. Do you like to have constant supervision, like somebody's right there? Some level of supervision, some independence, or a very minimal level of supervision and a high level of independence. Now, I want to point out, a lot of people will say, well, obviously I don't want to have constant supervision. But one thing to think about is if you have very little supervision, that usually means you are responsible for more. And you're responsible for whatever decisions you make without that supervision. And some people will find, yeah, I don't want to have my boss watching over my shoulder, but I actually don't want to be responsible for that much, in which case you might want to choose somewhere in the middle. So think about that one. I chose minimal because I do not like anybody watching over my shoulder. It drives me crazy. Commute. How far do you have to commute? Are you close by, like you could just walk there? Is it a short drive? Is it a long drive? Or maybe public transportation? Like, there's a lot of people who work in the Toronto area, for example, who might take an hour and a half to get to work every day, and another hour and a half to get home. That's 3 hours of your day just spent on, say, public transport. That would not appeal to me, right? So I would want either close by or short drive. I'm going to put this one. This one is not a huge deal as long as I didn't have a long drive. That would not appeal to me at all. Location. Do you like to work in one main place, several different locations, or many different locations? So many different locations, think of things like being a pilot or an air stewardess or a traveling salesman, or sometimes there's public speakers. People like musicians are constantly traveling. Comedians constantly traveling. Actors constantly traveling. Some people love to travel. Some people hate it and want everything familiar. So think about that. For me, I kind of say somewhere in the middle. This or that. I would pick one of those. Environmental control. Oh, control is spelled wrong. I apologize. Should be an OL there. Okay. Again, this is one of those things where it might matter to you a lot, or it might not matter to you at all. Do you want to have a high level of choices or control over your lighting, what colors are around you, what decorations are around you, or how the furniture is arranged? Do you want to have some control over the lighting, colors, decorations, or furniture arrangement? Or does it really not matter to you? You are fine with having no control over lighting, colors, decorations, or furniture arrangement. Again, I would prefer some to high. Okay. I would hate having no control over it at all. That would bother me. Okay. Which aspects of the work environment were the most important to you? In those aspects, what did you consider as your ideal? And I'm going to include a sample of a filled out answer as a guide. And then below that is a blank one for you to fill out. So here's what I did. Here are my criteria. Where was important? I want to work indoors. Activity level was important to me. I prefer to be mostly sedentary. Novelty level was important to me. I want some new tasks and some new learning. Maybe I might even change that to a lot of learning. Task variety, I want some task variety, but I wouldn't want to be doing something new every single day. Supervision level, minimal level, I would want a high level of independence. Now, some of these items are what I would call deal breakers or must-haves. Like, I could not accept a job that mostly worked outdoors. I would hate that. I would quit within a week, possibly the first day. Physically, I can do a standing job. I have a teaching is a standing job, But I find as I'm getting older that I just don't enjoy being on my feet all day long. It bothers me a lot more than I used to. So I would really rather not do a job where I've got to stand that much for me. And I am not somebody who can climb or jump, or those are not jobs for me. The other three are sort of important, but I could take a job that didn't have my ideal criteria. But these two, those are really important for me. Okay, so here's a blank one. You choose which 5 criteria are important, and you choose which was your ideal environment. As you're filling this out, think about whether any of these are deal breakers for you. They may or may not be. If there are certain work preferences that you have to have, like, nope, that just, I physically can't do that, or I physically will not do that, make sure to put like a little star or an asterisk next to it so that you know, hey, these are the ones that are non-negotiable, right? Like I wouldn't even look for a job that was going to be mostly outdoors. There'd be no point. It just wouldn't work for me. Whereas other people would hate being inside. They would way rather work a job that was outdoors. Again, there's no right or wrong answers. Okay, guys? Okay, moving on to work values or beliefs. Everybody has core values that are important to them. So they will usually feel most comfortable doing work that reflects those values. Some of those values might be based on ethical or religious beliefs about what is right or wrong, such as beliefs about lying, stealing, gambling, animal rights. Someone who thinks gambling is wrong, for example, is probably not going to enjoy working at a casino, for instance. Others may be more like just personal values. It's not really about what they think is right or wrong or morally correct, but just more about how they want to spend their time or how they like to develop their skills or knowledge or how they want to contribute to society. For example, you might not think it's wrong to work with animals, it's fine, but you may feel it's more important to you personally to be doing a job where you help people instead. Sometimes people may have a certain set of skills or abilities that they feel are very important to share or develop with others. Other people also want to work with businesses, supervisors, or coworkers who share at least some of their most important values. And again, it's up to you to decide which of those are important or which of those are not. Okay, so now we are on support question number 5. Take a look at the list below and decide how important it is to you to work in a place that allows you to practice that value. Some of these values are opposites of each other. For example, wanting to be personally powerful and wanting to be a humanitarian are generally opposing values. Some other values may not precisely be opposites of each other, but it could be really challenging to achieve both goals at the same time. If you want to make lots of money, but you also value honesty, what do you do if you need to lie in order to make money in a certain situation? You're going to have to choose which value is more important to you, right? Because there's always choices in them. Okay, and this kind of reminded me of a true story. My grandfather, who kind of lived during the Great Depression and did not necessarily have a whole lot of money, he worked as a bookkeeper and he traveled across the border from Windsor over to Detroit in the States, and he had a job there. So one day when he was talking with a friend, he found out that the business he was working for was actually a front for the notorious Purple Gang, which was a very powerful gang in the 1920s in Detroit. They kind of ran things. And he was horrified to discover that he was working for a gang, and he quit instantly. He never went back to that job again. And that would be an example of not wanting to work for a business that violates your sense of ethics or values. And sometimes that kind of thing happens where you, I won't say always in this extreme, but you get into a job, and then when you get there, you realize, oh, you know what? This job is going to require me to lie a little bit, and I'm not comfortable with that. Or this job is going to require me to be kind of maybe tougher on people than I'm really comfortable being. So it's a good idea to kind of investigate jobs beforehand to have a better sense of what's going to line up with what you want to do and how you want to be as a person, right? Okay. Though I have a friend who always calls this decisions made ahead of time, DMA. Making these types of decisions before you choose a career can help you prevent yourself from choosing a job where you may be forced to constantly choose between competing values. Keep in mind that although in your personal life you may feel that many of these are important, we are specifically looking at how important these values are to your work life. For example, you may consider respecting the environment extremely important at home, but you might not necessarily want to work for a business that has that as a main activity or goal. And that's fine, right? They're two different things. Okay, so values and virtues. And I know I only have a few here. I don't think there's any way to get everything. I tried to pick the ones that I thought were most common. Honesty, telling the truth and knowing that others are truthful. Is that not really important to you? Somewhat important or extremely important? I'm not going to do all these, but I'm going to do a few just so we kind of got some ideas here. Money, making lots of money with the possibility of tips or bonuses. Not really important, somewhat important, extremely important. I would say somewhere between somewhat important and extremely important. Ambition, a desire to be successful and to be promoted to higher levels in a company. To me personally, that's not really important. For some people, that might be the most important thing. Power, control over others. I would say not really that important. Influence, the ability to affect people's choices and behavior through your personality or through your ability to persuade people. It could also be your ability to affect policies or laws. So for example, salespeople have influence. So do people like teachers or therapists. Activists and lawyers have the ability to affect policies and laws. So do politicians. You might love one of those types of jobs, but not love the other. But do you like to be able to influence people or change things, I guess, right? I would say that's fairly strong to me, I would say. Personal growth. Opportunities are given to learn and develop new skills and knowledge. Not important, somewhat important, extremely important. I would say extremely important to me. Independence, work with minimal supervision, ability to set your own goals and measure your own progress. Extremely important. Integrity, doing what is right is encouraged. Not important, somewhat important, extremely important. Now I'm going to point out, this is one of those ones that is very different. Some people are like, as long as I can do what I want, I'm not going to worry about anyone else. For other people, it would drive them crazy to work with people that they knew were lying or cheating or doing something wrong. You have to decide for yourself what you like in that area. Respect for people. All people are treated with care, value, and good manners. Yes, highly important. Respect for heritage and culture. Personal culture is valued, practiced, and promoted actively. Yes. Respect for animals. Actively protects, supports animals and their rights. Okay, now I love animals, but it doesn't matter to me if my job has that. So that's an example where it's a personal value, but it's not a work value for me. Make sense? Respect for environment, actively protects, values, and benefits the environment. Again, not that important to me. Sorry, I'm sure I'm horrifying some people. Recognition or fame, becoming widely known, recognized, and valued by others. No, it's nice to be known, but I wouldn't want to be famous. Somewhere between the two. I'm going to go with not important, I guess. Kindness, actively seeks to be friendly, considerate, and encouraging to other staff and clients. Pretty important, yeah. Industriousness, working hard is valued and practiced by all members of the company, including management. Yes, that's very important to me. Humanitarianism, doing work that benefits others rather than yourself, right? So some jobs are all about achieving your own goals, making lots of money, getting lots of recognition. Other jobs are really more about helping people, right? Firefighting, for example, you're putting your life at risk to save others. Being a doctor, they work really long hours to help others, that kind of thing. I would rank this one pretty high for me personally. Diversity, working with people from different backgrounds, races, languages, and heritages. Yes, that's a high one for me. Competition, working with others who you compete against in order to achieve something. It could be money or a rank in the company or status or promotions. To me, no. Some people love that, right? A lot of salespeople love that kind of stuff. It doesn't even have to be more money. It can be just like, oh, yeah, I'm the best salesperson in the company. Woohoo. Teamwork, cooperating, planning, and working with other coworkers is a key part of the job. Kind of middle of the road about that. And again, there are no right or wrong answers. Whatever you choose is just fine. Then look over the choices you've made and focus on which ones you think are extremely important. Select the ones that you feel are the most important. So now I'm going to kind of go backwards. I kind of picked a lot that were most important. Just on this one page, I've got kindness, industriousness, humanitarianism, and diversity. And I have to pick only 3. And over here, I've got honesty, influence, professional growth, independence, integrity, respect for people, respect for heritage and culture. So I'm gonna pick 3. This is one of the ones where I'm kind of picking randomly because I got a lot of these that are important to me. It's possible that on a different day I might pick 3 different ones. In fact, looking over, it's possible I did pick 3 different ones, but I'm going to kind of go with what I think is important today. Okay. So I might say, oh no, sorry, I don't want to do that. Text. Yep. Okay. I might have independence. Okay. That would be number 1. Number 2 might be professional growth. What else would be important? Hang on a sec. I would say integrity. Like I said, this is one of those ones that if you ask me on a different day, I might give a different answer. Okay. Integrity. Oops, pretty sure I'm spelling that wrong. Hang on, guys. There we go. Okay. So literacy skills in the workplace. During all the different checklists we've looked at, some of the interests, skills, and abilities may have had some connection to different literacy skills. Many jobs need strong speaking and listening skills to be successful with clients, customers, coworkers, or even just your boss. Jobs such as sales, cashiers, social work, teachers, healthcare professionals, emergency services, and counselors all rely heavily on being able to use talking in order to encourage or teach or explain or ask questions. They also need to be able to listen well, to understand people, to be able to respond to those that they're helping. Other jobs might also need strong reading or writing skills in order to do the work they do, things like reading and writing letters, emails, journals, documents, or reports. Look at the jobs that you've been examining and think about what kind of communication skills would help you do that job well. I would pick 1 or 2, maybe even just focus on 1, your ideal job, and write about how the communication skills might affect that. Okay, so we're going to be working on, if we don't get finishes today, we'll finish it up on Monday, okay, guys? But key question 13 is all about your ideal job and communication skills. Write a journal on what you learned about yourself and your work preferences, skills, values, and abilities through doing the support questions in this lesson. So career types was support question number 2. Student skills was support question 3. Work environment, question number 4. Values and virtues was question number 5. Write a journal about your ideal career and workplace with as much detail as possible. For the purposes of this journal, don't worry about whether that type of job exists in your area. So for example, say with everything you were looking at, marine biologist would be your ideal job. Okay, well, we're not really close to the ocean, so that job isn't really available here. But for right now, don't worry about that part. You would just write about it as if it did exist, okay? Think about what type of communication skills would be helpful in this job. Focus on speaking, listening, reading, and writing. However, you can also include viewing and creating media if that would be relevant to your ideal job. So for example, if you wanted to be a TV news reporter, then viewing and creating media is a huge part of your job. If you wanted to be a radio operator or a filmmaker, that's a huge part of that job. So that can be an important job. And those two things are considered communication and literacy skills. People don't always realize that, but they are. Remember that you can use paragraphing to break this larger topic into smaller topics. This journal should be about 3/4 to a full page long. Only your final copy needs to be handed in. Remember to edit your work for grammar, spelling, capitalization, and punctuation errors. Okay. Oh, yeah. So we've talked about the writing stage before. Some people don't think of using the writing stage for journals. And if you were doing a personal journal, sure. So if I went home and I wanted to journal about today or wanted to journal about some ideas I have, I'm not going to worry about doing a revision because I'm the only person reading it. But this is a learning journal, right? So someone else is going to be reading it, I will be, and you're getting marked on it. And it's trying to show off how much you know about this topic and how much you understand about how to write well. Because of that, please take some time to pre-plan, to write a rough draft, do some revising. You only have to hand me in the one, but you really do want to take some time to do these stages because otherwise you're just not going to get the level of marks that you could get if you do follow the stages. So I would say if you're going to start planning, it's a good idea to write down a quick summary of your results for each item, put it on one page. It's a lot easier to put together your journal if it's all together. So support question number 2, for career types, I had artistic, investigative, and social. For support question number 3, skills and interests, I had people, and I think I added ideas there. Support question number 4, work environment, indoors, sedentary, some novelty, some task variety, minimal supervision. And then support question number 5, work values, I had professional growth, humanitarianism, and independence. So once you got that, I would then either split up my page or even take a new page for each one of these and start to brainstorm things you talk about it. If I was teaching you guys and we were in class, I would literally have you take a page, fold it in half, fold it in half again, and in those 4 squares, brainstorm one section of each of those topics, turn it over and keep using that. So that way you're not spending too much time. Like I might give myself 10 minutes to do the entire brainstorming, maybe 15. You don't want to spend so much time that it gets in the way of writing the rough draft, but you don't want to spend so little time that when you get to the rough draft, you're staring at the page feeling a bit panicky because you don't know what to say. So my first topic, career types, my results were artistic, investigative, and social. I might put down some examples of activities I like to do in each category. For artistic, I like to paint. I like to sculpt. I like to sew. For investigative, I like to read up on different topics. For social, I like to hang out in small groups or one-on-one. I like to teach people. I like to encourage people. Those are like brief little fragments. I would turn those into full sentences. I might look at some examples of jobs that match those categories and why they'd be a good fit for me. Are there some jobs that are artistic and investigative? What about jobs that are investigative and social or social and artistic? If I'm already doing a job that matches, I would explain why it is or is not a good fit for me. So teaching would definitely be investigative and social. When I worked as an elementary school teacher, it also included a lot of artistic. So that would also already have matched those things. Okay, number 3, my top choices were people and ideas. Well, what do I write about that? Well, I can look back at the quiz, first of all, and I can get specific. There are all sorts of ways to work with people. I want to narrow it down and write about it. Do I want to work with children, with adults, or with seniors? A lot of people have strong preferences, like they don't like working with children, but they love working with adults. Or I know people who enjoy working with seniors, and that's their primary people they want to work with. People who are very similar to me, or people who are very different to me. Sometimes that doesn't matter to people, sometimes it matters a lot. Do I like working one-on-one with people, in small groups, or in large crowds? So like one-on-one would be things like doctors or mental health professionals. Small groups might be things like being a tutor, being a team leader of some sort. Large crowds, maybe you want to be an entertainer, filling up a stadium full of people. Do you want to teach people, sorry, it says how to do something, right? And again, it doesn't have to be teaching. Coaches, right, are also teaching people how to do stuff. Business trainers are teaching people how to do stuff. Some blog writers are teaching people how to do things. Do I want to work cooperatively with others on a major project? Maybe that's what I mean when I say I want to work with people. Do I want to nurse people back to health? Do I want to advise people how to handle money? Do I want to entertain people with comedy, musical talents, or dramatic talent? Do I want to sell people something? That isn't by any means an exhaustive list. That is just what I thought of off the top of my head. Think about what would be important to you. And again, your ideal. We don't all get our ideal, but it's worth knowing what it is to help us narrow down what's the perfect job for us. Okay, I just noticed that I have run out of time. My apologies. We will finish up working on this on Monday. I hope you have a good weekend. I am here tomorrow. If anybody wants to send me some work or shoot me a question, I'd be happy to talk to you. Take care and have a good evening.